chapter 38, verses 16 and 18, into chapter 39, verses 26 and 27. God says, "Have you entered the springs of the sea? Have you walked in search of the depths? Have you comprehended the breadth of the earth? Tell me if you know all of this." And then in chapter 39, verse 26, "Does the hawk fly by your wisdom and spread its wings toward the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command and spread its wings and make its nest on high?" God says, do you have any idea what's down there in the sea? I do. Can you tell the birds how to nest up there where you can't even reach it? Can you tell them how to fly? Can you tell them how to live and how to eat? I can. What did God create on the fifth day? The birds and the fish. That's exactly right. The birds and the fish. And here we are toward the end of creation week, but we still have one day left. So chapter 39, verses 1, 5, and 6. God says, "Do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear their young? Or can you mark when the deer gives birth? Who set the wild donkey free? Who loosed the bonds of the onager," which means a lonesome, solitary animal, "whose home I have made the wilderness and the barren land his dwelling?" God says, are you in control of the life cycles of nature? Can you do that? Really? Do you determine where the animals live? Who watches over even the solitary, lonesome animals? Is it not me? And what did God create on the sixth day? All the land-dwelling animals. But he made something else on the sixth day, didn't he? Us, mankind. And so he ends this little tirade in chapter 40, verses 1 and 2, also 8 through 10, and verse 14. Again, the highlights. God says, verse 1, "Moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, Shall the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? He who rebukes God, let him answer it. Would you indeed annul my judgment? Would you condemn me that you may be justified? Have you an arm like God, or can you thunder with a voice like his? Then adorn yourself with majesty and splendor, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Then I will also confess to you that your own right hand can save you." God says, is mankind God? Then either do what I do or stop trying to take my place. We'll talk about a rebuke from God, right? I mean, Job must have felt like this small in light of this. And so Job responds in chapter 42, verses 1 through 3 and 5. He says, "Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do everything, and that no purpose of yours can be withheld from you. You asked, who is this who hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me which I did not know. I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." Job finally saw his true position with respect to God. A speck, a nothing. He finally came to this understanding because he let go of his self-righteousness, his self-centered ideas, right? He stopped second-guessing God and trying to conform God to what he knew about the earth. He instead finally did the opposite and saw the earth through the lens of God. And as a result, he had always known about God. He'd heard of God. But finally, he saw God, who God really is. We should learn this lesson ourselves. We should learn this lesson every day. We cannot see God for who he truly is as long as we cling to our preconceived notions of him and of us. We need to stand in awe of him who creates with the breath of his mouth just because he can and likes to. He gave us everything we have. He gave us our lives. He gave us our planet. He gave us an understanding of himself just so we could know how very small we are. Like the psalmist in Psalm 8, verse 4, we should wonder in awe daily, what is man that you should be mindful of him? God makes the whole universe go. It's amazing. Isn't it amazing? You know, isn't it like mind-numbingly amazing that the creator of the universe cares enough to be part of our stupid little lives? And yet he does care. This is who he is. He wants to show up and help us do our stupid little things. He knows that we're prone to wander away from him, to forget who he is. He loves us anyway. He gave us a reminder, because he knows that we're prone to forget, he gave us a reminder to call our attention back to this simple, amazing truth that God made us. By the way, the very fact that God is the creator is the fundamental, the only reason why we come here every week, why we offer him worship, why we have this thing called church. The Bible says that. Revelation chapter 4, verse 11. This is all the host of heaven worshiping God. It says, "You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power." Why? "For you created all things, and by your will they exist and were created." I mean, without God, we wouldn't be here, period. We wouldn't exist. When we remember that God is the author of everything, we represent him correctly as a result. We become his disciples. But you see, unlike Job, we can't expect God to show up when we do something stupid and to rebuke us and teach us the right way. You know, we can't expect God to walk us through creation every time we lose our path. And so God gives us a little gift instead, so that we can hang on to that truth without the amazing rebuke that Job got. And what is this gift from God? What is the perpetual reminder that he is omnipotent? That he, and not chance, and not sludge, and not mutations, or eternal recreation through death, is the reason that we're here today. Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. "Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had done. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because on it he rested from all his work which God had created and made." You see, God took a day off. Even God was so impressed by what he had done that he had to take a day off and say, "Wow, that's good." It was so good that despite 6 millennia of us doing our very best to destroy it, it's still beautiful. You can imagine, and human beings are good at destroying. That's like our specialty, you know? So you can imagine, after 6,000 odd years of us applying our specialty of destruction to this amazing creation, how good it must have been. It must have been some special kind of good when it was new, to still be this way now. And so God calls us to do the same thing that he did. He says, Sabbath. That word means rest. It says rest. Take a break. Remember me. Why do we come to church? It's to remember God. Why are we supposed to rest? It's because he did. Otherwise, if we don't rest, we're going to forget who he is. Why shouldn't we do things like shop and be served on the Sabbath day? It's so that everyone else can rest and remember God too. Now, they may work anyway. You can't control that. That's between them and God. But they don't need to miss the Sabbath blessing for us. Amen? Amen. Sabbath is a celebration of God's creative power, but remember what God did with his creative power. He made us. Sabbath is a celebration of us. It's to remember that we are the cornerstone of creation. Everything was made so that we could have it. And so, of course, Mark 2:27, Jesus said to them, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Of course. I mean, it's a gift to us. We're supposed to stop and recognize how important we are in the eyes of God. And so do you need some encouragement today? Are you feeling down about yourselves today? How about a 24-hour party every week to celebrate your existence? Because that's what the Sabbath is. It is so important to God that he wrote it down on stone with his own finger in what we call the fourth commandment. Exodus 20, verses 8 through 11, saying, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. This is why we don't see God clearly when we ignore his Sabbath. How can we? He says, I'm the creator. Here's a whole day just to remember that. When we forget the memorial, we forget the creator. And so let me ask you, is the world at large today giving God glory for the creation? No, we've got all sorts of different theories as to why we're here and how we got here. And for most people, God is not one of those theories. Is the world at large keeping the Sabbath? Do you think those things are related to one another? This is a problem I have with alternate days of worship. We meet to honor the resurrection. That's a noble cause, isn't it? We should honor the resurrection. If Jesus didn't come out of the tomb, we would have no hope. We would all die eventually, and that would be it. It is a cause worth remembering, but it is not what the Sabbath is for. The Sabbath is to remember creation. Let me ask you, without the creation, would there have been a resurrection? No. And so, worshiping on an alternate day is like celebrating graduation, but forgetting that you were born in the first place. It's like, being all into the Constitution and forgetting the Declaration of Independence. It's like loving your grandchild, but hating your son. It's like hailing Inception as the best movie ever and being completely ignorant of The Matrix. It misses the point. It skips the necessary pre-existing factor that led to the thing being celebrated. And so, are we disrespecting Jesus by keeping the Sabbath? That's an argument you'll get. Well, you're disrespecting Jesus if you don't honor the resurrection. But are we really disrespecting Jesus by keeping Sabbath? I mean, no way. We already read Mark 2:27, Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Verse 28, therefore the Son of Man is also Lord of the Sabbath. Jesus claims it. It's his. He made the Sabbath. How can we honor him by ignoring what he's made? Now, if you don't believe me that Christ made the Sabbath, let's explore.